So in this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on what it's like going through a no-buy year. It's now the middle of March, so I've done 2.5 months, and I'm going to be honest, it hasn't been too difficult. I've been tempted a couple of times, normally by quite focused temptations, so I'm talking about things that were probably based on machine learning algorithms, so things popping up on my Amazon feed or coming through email, so machines that have learned my online behaviors and my tastes and are feeding it back to me. And it nearly worked because I put a couple of things in a basket, but I didn't buy. Now, I was going to make a video in a little bit more detail about that, but I'm not really finding that aspect of it particularly interesting. It's just a change of behavior. But I was listening to Impact Theory, and Tim Ferriss was on there, and he was talking about the benefits of excess. And this is something that I realize is fully within the concept of a no-buy year or a depth year, in that the majority of people will say, no, that's not for me, I don't think I could do that. And you have to have what a lot of people would think of as a masochistic streak to do that, because you are going to have to deny yourself things. You are going to have to experience some level of discomfort, maybe around times of the year where you were used to treating yourself, maybe you had a little bit of extra money and so forth. But the benefits totally outweigh any inconvenience, or they're at least equivalent to the inconvenience, because what I've only really started to understand is that excess and risk are the biggest payouts in your life. Every time that you've pushed yourself way beyond your limits, you've been rewarded, I would say, usually. And it's certainly been my case. And one of the reasons for that is that it's almost like you've unlocked a level in the game, and you've increased your bandwidth. You've increased the bandwidth of your experience. So some people will talk about the blessings of a crisis, that when you go through something that's terrible, it's almost like you've opened the bandwidth, so you've felt that bad. The opposite polarity opens up. The pendulum has swung so far this way, and the nature of a pendulum is that it will swing back as far the other way. Now, obviously, nobody wants to be on this kind of crazy pendulum swing between joy and suffering. That's pretty much the pattern of a manic depressive. But when you take controlled and conscious behavior, which is considered either risky or excessive, you are venturing into that territory and beginning to get a stronger control and shine more light, and you have less sort of dark zones, and you are less likely to make decisions based on fear, because you've been there, you've shone a light into that corner, and you go, okay, that's fine. So when you willingly experience what you think of as discomfort, you enlarge your capacity to experience discomfort. And because you've done that, in other areas of your life, you will think, well, I did that, so why won't I be able to do that as well? So it's actually an excellent way of improving your motivation and goal setting. And I don't think it's an accident that in this year where I have decided not to buy anything, I've also decided to do a 400-mile walk, but that's for another video. But I've just started to realize that I want to know what I'm capable of. And in a sense, almost that question doesn't make sense, because I decide what I'm capable of. And when I come up against resistance inside where I've got, just give it up, Joe, or, you know, that voice that'll tell me to climb down or take an easier route, then I can confront that part of myself, and I can actually have a conscious mechanism in place where I go, okay, do I want that to be just my default setting, that every time something gets mildly difficult, I have this personality, this element of my personality that steps in and justifies to me all the reasons why I don't need to go through it, and why, yeah, it's absolutely reasonable and normal to put your feet up and do nothing, or close your eyes and hope that it goes away, or whatever non-strategy my fear and laziness have installed for me. You know, if I actually instead think, what serves me best, doing this or not doing this? And the more conscious you get about this, I think the more able you are to make good decisions, and rather than just default decisions of like, okay, it's the weekend, I've got a little bit of cash, I'll go and buy something. And enjoying that sort of small hit of pleasure, and that's instead of saving up or putting that time into a project that was meaningful, and so on. So yeah, I'm beginning to get a better grasp on what Blake said, which is that the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, which I kind of always thought was about getting high. And to be fair, there are, of course, altered states that can take you there. But not just that, it can be consciously making a decision to really, really push yourself hard in something. And I know that not buying anything for a year isn't really going to be the thing that pushes me the hardest in my life, but it's apparently difficult enough that the majority of people seem to find it excessive. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what you think about excess and how you factor it into your life, whether you agree with this or not. And yeah, I would love to hear your comments. So once again, if you've stuck with me this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'd love it if you would subscribe, because I can see that there's a lot more. This is going to be a super big year with quite a lot of personal experiments coming that I think are out there in the ether, and other people will be doing them as well. Okay, thanks. Bye.